Welcome back. It's Travis Stanek here, and we're in chapter 2 and day 3 of reading Psycho-Cybernetics, the Deluxe Edition. And I'm going to be diving right in to discovering the success mechanism within you. So it may seem strange, but it's nevertheless true that up until then, up until 10 years ago, scientists had no idea of just how the human brain and nervous system worked purposely or to achieve a goal. They knew what happened from having made long and meticulous observations, but no single theory of underlying principles tied all these phenomena together into a concept that made sense. R.W. Gerard, writing in Scientific Monthly in June 1946 on the brain and imagination, he stated that it was sad but true that most of our understanding of the mind would remain as valid and useful if, for all we knew, the cranium were stuffed with cotton wadding. However, when man himself set out to build an electronic brain, i.e., the computer with the invention of the transistor, and to construct goal striving mechanisms of his own, he had to discover and utilize certain basic principles. Having discovered them, these scientists began to ask themselves, could this be the way that human brains work also? I mean, think about it. As human beings, maybe accidentally, well, in this question, it was an accidental discovery, but human beings accidentally discovered that they created a machine, a product that was to be useful in solving problems for humans. They created a machine and asked the question and discovered, hey, we might have actually tried to build something similar to a human brain. And like, how does this stack up to the human psyche, to the human brain's computing power, let's say, for instance? How does this stack up? Is it the same? Is it better? Is it similar? Is it worse than? And guess what we found? We discovered the very first computers that took up an entire storage facility, a room, a laboratory that had less computing power than your calculator that you have on probably at your desk if you had one. I can't even compare the original computers to the pocket held device that almost every human, if not all Americans, nearly above the age of 12, maybe it have in their pocket. The smartphone is infinitely more advanced in the computing power and technology. We accidentally discovered this question to say, how do these things stack up to the human brain? And once we started asking that question and comparing, we started to discover. We discovered the discovering of the success mechanism within you. That's the title of this chapter 2. We asked a question and it got us discovering the answers to that question, which had us starting to question our own existence and our own actions and thoughts and behaviors. 1946, we're in 2025. 2025, 1946, we're almost 80 years ago. And the point being is up until then, up until less than 100 years ago, let's call it 80 years ago, some say, that we actually started to grasp the concept of how complex our human brain and processing capability and all this great stuff is when we try to reproduce it. Now, here we are, 2025. It's January 6th, 2025, but in October 2022, AI was most introduced, not invented or released. It's been around for decades, ladies and gentlemen. But what was ChatGPT, OpenAI's ChatGPT, and I just happened to stumble upon this in December 2022 and started implementing AI and then knowing AI through my discovery. I found ways to sell the ChatGPT tool in an appointment booking bot for local businesses. And I went after dentists most specifically and grew and scaled an agency and with team members and all the pizzazz. So I've been at this for over 2 years, implementing first AI and for profit, and then knowing AI for profit. I've been doing this with respect to the fact that AI itself, we haven't yet even built a machine that's aware. There's a lot of sci-fi tech out there talking about the future of AI and potentially this awareness that AI can have and become, ruthless and brutal and hurt us rather than just help us alone. We have to put these software programming, coding restrictions, limitations in place so that it can't hurt us. Yet we only design and program and code it for it to help us. Yet when we give it the ability to become aware and have feelings and emotions, and we're trying to reproduce the brain, this first discovery, this first question, this book written in 1960 had no idea about artificial intelligence or the capability or the movies that were created in the 80s, like Terminator. It had no way of conceiving this 20 years before its time of Terminator's release, 20 plus years, excuse me. And here we are, not even having yet 65 years down the road of when this book was written, been able to reproduce the human brain, been able to reproduce a being that can walk around and hurt us. But the common misconception, the common question that people are asking themselves is AI going to take over the world and replace our jobs? And I have two answers for you. No, it's not AI that's going to take over the world and replace our jobs. It's AI that's going to enhance humans' capability of earning, learning, and producing. Number two, AI is not going to take over the world and replace our jobs. It's humans that know AI and implement AI for profit that are going to take over the world and replace the jobs of humans that don't know AI and implement AI for profit. That's it. That's the equation. Those are the two things that I know, my friends. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this now because this is exactly what happens when we start to ask questions. We discover new things. We discovered how amazing the human truly is, the human mind, the thought that controls everything. You've heard The Secret was written as thoughts become things. Napoleon Hill writes it in Think and Grow Rich, which is the second book in this podcast series we'll be reading after this one. The basic thoughts become things, but that's just interesting. That's not the only thing. So your thoughts are everything. Your thoughts are the literal seed, the conception, the beliefs are birthed, are born, are gestated, these seeds are, provided the right environment, nurturing them. These things are born from the seed of thought. Creation is birthed from the thought. You've heard in the Bible, in Genesis, talks about let there be light, speaking first. Thinking happens before speaking, does it not? It may be instantaneous. The synapses, the fire in the brain are almost too fast to measure. They're definitely too fast for me to measure. Can you imagine the first beings or creators walking the earth, not having the technology of measurement tools that we have in 2025 today? Maybe they had them more advanced. I don't know. But what I do know is this, that I don't have the measuring tools and capacity to know how fast my thinking happens, but my thinking happens before my speaking. You have to think first. Think first changes everything, which leads me to this. I don't know when I wrote this down, but this hangs in my office. A change of mind changes the world. A change of mind changes the world. Your thoughts change your thoughts, change your mind, and you change the world for the better or the worse. But obviously, for me, I'm talking for the better. I'm just starting back over. This is such an impactful chapter. And I just spoke on it, bringing us up to the contemporary events of the world today as we know it with AI. And the key point that I'm driving home is not about those things that I spoke about AI, whether they're taking over the world and replacing our jobs. That's for another day. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to join my exclusive community, school.com, search us up, the Corporate Escape Artists. But this here, my friends, is actually discovering what's always been there. Okay? The discovery of this stuff, we've always existed. It's always been there. Science is now proving what was written in an ancient text, the Bible. It's one of the oldest books in the world. Whether you believe it or not to be true or false, that's not the argument here. That's just your opinion and conjecture, and we don't have really any solid evidence if it actually is real or not. That's up to you to decide. But the science is now proving what's always been there. We're discovering. We're discovering because we're asking the questions. So ask the right questions and you get the right answers. Ask really good questions, you can get good answers. I don't like to write a wrong label. It's beneficial or not beneficial, but you ask great questions and you get great answers. Now, the questions they started asking in 1946 after they built the first computers with the invention of the transistor, it essentially gave us the greatest answers. We don't yet even have the answer to yet, but it's one of the greatest questions that humanity's ever asked themselves. And I'm going to read it again here in this chapter. But we're getting the greatest answers because we're recognizing, like, hey, if we can recreate the human being, we've actually tapped into one of the most magnificent creations that I don't know if we'll ever come across in our lives. Not to put humans on this pedestal like, oh, we're all that and a bag of chips. But to my knowledge, there isn't any other sentient being walking this planet other than Homo sapien. There's a lot of other beings in existence, organic matter, both plants and animals, that think and respond and act and communicate and procreate and do all these wonderful, beautiful things that Homo sapien does. But to my knowledge, humans are the only ones with the prefrontal cortex that have the capacity to not just experience the present moment, like I believe most, if not all, other beings do. They don't just experience the present moment with their thoughts and feelings triggering what's in their outer world. They have the ability to imagine what could be, the future that is not yet here in front of me today, based off of my past experiences. They have the ability to remember and think about the past and go like, oh my gosh, those past experiences, like, what are they? And triggering thoughts and chemical release in the body as if it's actually happening. I believe we are the only sentient being on this planet, the only creatures, organic matter, plants and animals, that have the ability to think, not only just in the future and the past, but we have the ability, and this is without refutable evidence that I'm aware of. We are the only being or creature with the ability to speak language, and not just one language, not just one unified language. Oh my gosh, we are quite incredible. And not only just multiple languages across the planet, but within the language, the evolution of the language. I'm only 41 years old. And in my lifetime, I've had not only myself as a kid inventing new words, but now my preteen and younger kids and every generation that happens before me, as me, and behind me that have not yet been born and created are modifying the language. Shakespeare around, I think, the 1600s, 400 some years ago, was describing all the different slangs and the different words and the context and the language. English language has evolved. We have this ability not only to think, imagine in the future, and remember the past in the present moment, the future, and past moments. We have the ability to communicate it with each other with spoken language rather than or maybe infra. I'm not saying infrared, sonic wave technology. I mean, all these different ways that our wonderful animal friends communicate with each other. We see them, not a single one are speaking that we can understand. They may be speaking to each other, but we have such an evolved species that even our own species don't understand each other. I just talked about language. There's only a handful of people on the planet Earth, with respect to myself, that might be able to understand me. Now, granted, I do speak English, and that is a widely globally adopted language. But let's say I wasn't speaking English. And I was born into a language of native speaking in a tribe of only maybe 10 or 20,000 ever to exist, both dead and current living. Now, how many of the sentient beings, humans, do you think would be able to understand me? How many animals do you see in little pods around the world that don't seem to be able to communicate with each other? This suggests they don't have more than one language. I mean, I could be way off here. I don't know this stuff. I'm not a creature scientist, okay? I'm not a world scientist. I have an engineering background, worked in semiconductors for 18 years, for chip manufacturers, memory manufacturers, for technology that we use in everyday life manufacturers, okay? In Lehi, Utah. Look them up. It's gone over 3 different businesses that have owned it. I don't have the knowledge and background to all these different things. But what I do know is this, that we are quite incredible. And it's the discovery of how incredible we are because we asked such great questions. Get good at asking great questions and you'll learn more about yourself. But change your thoughts and you change the world. Listen to this. I'm going to start from the top. It may seem strange, but it's nevertheless true that up until 10 years ago, scientists had no idea of just how the human brain and nervous system worked purposely or to achieve a goal. They knew what happened from having made long and meticulous observations, but no single theory of underlying principles tied all these phenomena together into a theory of, tied them all together into a concept that made sense. R.W. Gerard, writing in Scientific Monthly in June 1946 on the brain and imagination, he stated that it was sad but true that most of our understanding of the mind would remain as valid and useful if, for all we knew, the cranium were stuffed with cotton wadding. However, when man himself set out to build an electronic brain and to construct goal striving mechanisms of his own, he had to discover and utilize certain basic principles. Having discovered them, these scientists began to ask themselves, could this be the way that the human brain works also? Could it be that in making man, our Creator provided us with a servo mechanism more marvelous and wonderful than any electronic brain or guidance system ever dreamed of by man, but operating according to the same basic principles? In the opinion of famous cybernetic scientists like Dr. Norbert Weiner, Dr. John von Neumann, and others, the answer was an unqualified yes. Your built in guidance system. So, every living thing has a built in guidance system or a goal striving device put there by its creator to help it achieve its goal, which is, in broad terms, to live. In the simpler forms of life, the goal to live simply means physical survival for both the individual and the species. The built in mechanism in animals is limited to finding food and shelter, avoid or overcoming enemies and hazards, and procreation to ensure the survival of the species. So I just want to circle back to what I just said ago. It was the animal, the gazelle, that's grazing in the fields of Africa, the plains of Africa, that sees the lion on the prowl, hungry for its prey. All of a sudden, everything that it was thinking about in the present moment, the bodily actions, the bodily functions, excuse me, of digestion and healing, regeneration, okay, all that energy immediately ceases to produce digesting and regeneration. And all of that energy is redirected to the extremities. A body pumped full of chemicals of cortisol and adrenaline are released instantaneously, and that gazelle gets booking it. And guess what happens? The the slowest, the sickliest, the least of the herd get picked off by the lion and eaten for lunch. And guess what? The moment that lion's lunch is done and he's stopped hunting for his prey, he's no longer on the prowl, he's full belly and goes back to sleep. Now, fact, just went on a jungle safari cruise in San Diego, or excuse me, Florida. What am I saying? San Diego. In Florida, the animal kingdom, they said that lions are sleeping 20, I guess it was like 20-ish hours a day. 20 plus hours a day. Those lazy bees, they're not lazy, by the way, but those animals are digesting and regenerating and only hungry and hunting on the prowl where their cortisol and adrenaline is pushed to their extremities when they're going out hunting for prey for up to 4 hours max per day. The females are the ones doing the work, and the males protect the herd and kick the ass of anyone trying to come in and start some shit. And they're both necessary ingredients for the circle of life. But guess what's happening to the gazelle? The gazelle is not thinking, oh my God, I almost got killed. I almost got eaten by the lion. What would have happened if I would have tripped over the rock and maybe sprained my leg and I would have been eaten too? Oh my God, I can't go back to the prairie or back to the plains rather and start grazing again. I got to hide. Oh my God, what's going to happen? W- uh, Its mind doesn't start racing and telling itself stories of the future that's not yet here based on its past. Okay? Only humans do that. Guess what happens to the gazelle? Once that lion rolls over and goes to sleep and it's no longer on the prowl, it goes right back to grazing. The energy production in the body for regeneration and digestion and everything else goes right back to work. And we are the only ones triggering cellular death, dis-ease in the body by thinking over and over and over again, reproducing the thing that happened to us in the past over and over and over and over again, releasing the chemicals in the body. No cell can endure long-term strain and stress like that environment without dis-ease and death. No cell in the human body, or I'm sure any other body thereafter, but we don't have the evidence. We will never, unless they become sentient and able to communicate with us and prove to us they think in the future based off their past and remember their past and also can be in the present moment. Until that day and time, we're the only beings that kill our cells in our body based off of the environment we provide it long term. Over and over again, small daily actions compounded over time yield amazing results. If you small and daily compound the memory of your traumas, tragedies, mistakes, hurts, shames, guilts, fears, anything that triggers a lower vibrational energy state and the release of cortisol, adrenaline, and all these other drugs of the body we become addicted to. We seek out with our reticular activating system, the filter, the lens in which we view life. We, like a homing missile, we get this self-fulfilling prophecy, evidence, proof in our lives. The thoughts that play over and over in our heads are actually happening to us, not for us or because of us. We think it's the outside world afflicting us within. We think that's the problem, but it's not. It's just physics. It's just the fact that your thoughts will trigger a feeling, and the feelings in the brain is saying, hey, to get this feeling, release chemicals in the body. We have a pharmacy in our brain. A pharmacy in our body, excuse me, the brain has got the recipe and the commands. The body releases all the chemicals. I'm not going to go into the biophysics here, but the truth of the matter is it's simply physics. It's simply just the way this world works. When you think about something, you release chemicals in your body. You experience it. Your brain doesn't know if it's happening to you or not. It doesn't actually know. The body, the mind, they're connected. They're not disconnected like we were led to believe hundreds of years ago when the mathematicians would basically had their heads severed off, basically saying there's a separation of mind and body, of knowledge and God. There's like this spirituality thing, this woo-woo. It's the current metamorphosis of the English language. That which when I was a teenager, I don't think woo woo was a thing. But now woo woo is a way to describe physics for the people who are uncomfortable with the fact that this is actually happening to you, whether you believe it to or not. You don't need to label it with a deity. You need to label it with reality. And whatever your reality is, what you perceive. What you perceive is what you believe. And what you believe is what you think. Change your thoughts and change the world. Your world as you perceive it is your reality. You change your thoughts, you change your reality. Enough of us change our realities in the same direction. We will see tangible evidence manifesting all around us. Elon Musk is changing the world. The way he thinks, he perceives, and changes reality. Enough people are adopting his way of thinking, and the world is changing. By 2026 or earlier, robotaxis will take over the self-driving or the taxi and delivery service industries. No longer will you have a safe job or a side hustle to go to rolling out of bed saying I have no skills or no passport or no any way of earning money other than turning my vehicle on and driving my body around town. These jobs are going away because of one man's thoughts became his things, and enough other people thought the same way and bought into his thing. They voted with their dollar. You vote every day for your self image as like a dollar. You're voting, you're making mental votes to your self image by the things that you do. You buy the things, you do the things, you make a commitment to yourself, you follow through with it. You're giving votes to your self image. Like, yeah, I trust and like and believe in this guy. He's got the shit to get it done. When you don't, it's another negative mental vote, and you start to feel bad about it. And some people beat ourselves up and we get off the fad diet. It's January 6th. Usually by January 21st, enough people have fallen off their commitment to themselves and gone back to the way they were the last 300 and what, 60 some odd days of last year because they gave it almost 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. And those are mental negative votes. These votes are the way that we show our character, our personality. Like it's congruent with our self image. Because if we're voting in a different way that's not congruent with our self image, all of a sudden there's internal conflict. It's called cognitive dissonance. This cognitive dissonance is when you close your eyes and you go, oh, I really want a Ferrari. I want a mansion. I want a life. I want to be a multimillionaire. I want to make an impact in the world. And when you open your eyes and you're like, wow, the world around me doesn't look the same. Is this going to like take change? A lot of people will say, was this going to take work? But that's your belief system if you think it's going to be hard. Our creator has given us the ability to make things easy and hard. It's up to us. But when you open your eyes and you say it's not the same, cognitive dissonance comes into play. And what happens with cognitive dissonance, unless you know how to overcome it, unless you know how to transform your inner world into your outer world and make them match and be coherent, be the same, when mind and body are coherent, when they're the same, they're no longer severed. Like back in Newton's time, we were believed to say like, hey, there's a separation of mind body. This is physics. This is mathematics. This is classic Newtonian physics of mind over of mind pushing matter through space and time. Force equals mass times acceleration. But quantum physics, Newtonian physics is classic, but modern physics, where Albert Einstein was playing around with, has discovered beyond the physical time and space with matter moving objects through time and space. It's got to be hard. I have to fight. I have to grind. I have to have goals. I got to commit. It's going to take me 6 or 12 months to achieve my goals. I'm going to XYZ the thing. When you collapse time and space into the quantum infinite possibility where all things are possible, where an electron is actually a quantum field of possibility. We actually cannot measure the precise location of an electron's existence in time and space because every time we try, we get the observer's effect. Whenever you start to observe it and measure it, it appears. When you turn around and you ignore it, the infinite possibilities of everywhere, all time, and all space exist. Electrons are a great way to study the connection of the mind and the body, the connection of the Woo woo, the ethereal, which is the infinite possibility of the quantum, waves of energy and light. Waves rather than particles slowed down to the speed of light. That's what we are. We're human beings. We're slowed down to the speed of light, experiencing a human experience, but we're basically like a spiritual soul or some energy form that I don't freaking understand, but there's been a lot of people currently and before me that have tried to understand and explain it from their own lens in life, their own view of the Aesop's fable gray elephant. They're looking at the trunk. I'm looking at a leg. Someone else is looking at the toe and the butt and the idea. If you zoom out 80,000 feet, you start to see the lens of life from the view of the whole elephant and realize that none of this stuff is unique. It's all been there since the beginning of time. This is the thing. Nothing's new under the sun. Nothing's new under the sun. We've just discovered it by asking the right questions. That's what this chapter is all about, just to go off on that massive tangent that's so important. I encourage you to rewind that and listen to that segment multiple times, because in that you will find and discover yourself. In man, the goal to live means more than mere survival. For an animal to live simply means that certain physical needs must be met. Man has certain emotional and spiritual needs which animals do not have. Consequently, for man to live encompasses more than the physical survival and procreation of the species. It requires certain emotional and spiritual satisfactions as well. Man's built in success mechanism also is much broader in scope than an animal's. In addition to helping a man avoid or overcome danger, the sexual instinct, which keeps the race alive, the success mechanism in man can help him get answers to problems, invent, write poetry, run a business, sell merchandise, explore new horizons in science, attain more peace of mind, develop a better personality, or achieve success in any other activity which is intimately tied into his living or makes for a fuller life. The success instinct. A squirrel doesn't have to be taught how to gather nuts, nor does it need to learn that it should store them for winter. A squirrel is born in the spring has never experienced winter, yet in the fall of the year, it can be observed busily storing nuts to be eaten during the winter months when there will be no food to be gathered. A bird, it doesn't need to take lessons in nest building, nor does it need to take courses in navigation, yet birds do navigate thousands of miles, sometimes over an open sea. They have no newspapers or TV to get them weather reports, no books written by explorers or pioneer birds to map out for them the warm areas of the earth. Nevertheless, the bird knows when cold weather is imminent and the exact location of a warm climate, even though it may be thousands of miles away. In attempting to explain such things, what we'll usually say that animals have certain instincts which guide them. Have you ever heard someone tell you in your life, hey man, this guy or gal, they're just naturally gifted. It's just their talents, their instincts. They're better than me because someone liked them better. Like they were just made better than me and they got more opportunity, life experience, and blah, 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 blah. We're doing it the same for animals. We're just making a blanket statement that we say that they've got instincts which guide them to do these crazy and absurd things. That last paragraph was talking about birds flying over the sea, navigating without any lessons from someone before, currently, or in their future, not having gone to school like we do as humans to learn stuff. Now, in our defense, we're learning a heck of a lot more skills. We're not just a jack of, we're not like the jack of all trades, master of none. We're not just mastering one. We are literally, as a human being, human species, jacks of all trades, master of all. Whether you choose to believe that or not, you choose to believe it, and you are a jack of all trades, master of all. We do lots of things. Now, we suck at first, and then we master the skill after repetition and clarity and consistency and coherence of mind and body. When all those three C's come together, we master the thing and we're masters of all. But we don't question it until we're like, holy crap, how the heck did a bird get there? It's just gotta be instincts. It's just gotta be, they're natural born given of talents and abilities. No, it's not. I read on. Analyze all such instincts, and you'll find that any animal, they assist this animal, these instincts, to successfully cope with its environment. In short, animals have a success instinct. It's like their survival mechanism, right? Their survival mechanism over time has evolved to these instincts or these patterns of how they live, how they survive. The birds that are flying across the ocean, if they just stayed put, they would freeze to death. So over time, they were given this natural born instinctual success instinct, which is the survival instinct, is to keep you from death. See, the only thing that makes things painful for us is things that may kill us. Okay. The subconscious or the mind actually believes in the unknown as a void or a vacuum in which we could die. So, anytime you got a goal and you step out to achieve your goal, you're going to inevitably quit unless you white knuckle and push through and work really hard because your subconscious mind is telling you every second of the day, stop what you're doing. You will die because you've never experienced beyond your goal. You've never imagined what happens beyond your goal. But when you go and imagine the goal beyond the goal, stretch yourself a little bit. Take your goals that you have today, right now, and I challenge you this. Imagine as if you woke up tomorrow and all of your goals that you have in your mind, your wild and audacious goals, the biggest goal that you've ever had in your mind in any time in your life, it could be given up, killed, buried, and put away in a box to be long forgotten by you decades ago. I don't even care. Your biggest, wildest, audacious goal is totally accomplished tomorrow. Then what's next? Then what's next? Then what's next is you go the goal beyond the goal. And now you stretched your imagination further and beyond the void and vacuum seal of death. And now it's okay. The goal is now okay to achieve because you won't die. As silly as that may sound, it's physics. It's a silly way that we're created. The subconscious mind is wired for survival. It's wired and programmed from our instinct. The survival mechanism is what he's calling the success instinct. In animals, we have it as well because we're also animals. We're mammals that have this success instinct to keep us alive. So I challenge you to stretch your goal beyond the goal and see what starts to happen. I continue on. We often overlook the fact that man has too a success instinct, much more marvelous and much more complex than any of the animal. Our creator didn't shortchange man. On the other hand, man was exceptionally blessed in this regard. Animals cannot select their goals. Their goals, self preservation and procreation, they're preset, so to speak, and their success mechanisms limited to these built in goal images, which we call instincts. Man, on the other hand, he's got something animals haven't, creative imagination. Thus, man of all creatures is really more than a creature, he's also a creator. With his imagination, he can formulate a variety of goals. Man alone can't direct his success mechanism by the use of imagination or imagining ability. We often think of creative imagination as applying only to poets, inventors, and the like, but imagination is creative in everything we do. Although they didn't understand why or how imagination sets our creative mechanism into action, but serious thinkers of all ages, as well as hard headed practical men, they've recognized this fact and made use of it. Imagination rules the world, said Napoleon. Imagination of all man's faculties is the most godlike, said Glenn Clark. The faculty of imagination is the great spring of human activity and the principal source of human improvement. Destroy this faculty, and the condition of man will become as stationary as that of the brutes, said Dougald Stewart, the famous Scottish philosopher. You can imagine your future, says Henry J. Kaiser, who attributes most of his success in business to the constructive, positive use of creative imagination. How your success mechanism works. You are not a machine. By new discoveries in the science of cybernetics, all point to the conclusion that your physical brain and nervous system make up a servo mechanism which you use and which operates very much like an electronic computer and a mechanical goal seeking device. Your brain and nervous system constitute a goal striving mechanism which operates automatically to achieve a certain goal. Very much like a self aiming torpedo or missile seeks out its target and steers its way towards it. Your built in servo mechanism functions both as a guidance system to automatically steer you in the right direction and to achieve certain goals or make correct responses to the environment. And it also acts as an electronic brain, which can function automatically to solve problems, give you needed answers, and provide you new ideas or inspirations. In his book, The Computer and the Brain, Dr. John von Neumann says that the human brain possesses the attributes of both the analog and the digital computer. Imagine that. I worked for companies that were building both digital and analog devices. Imagine, we've been trying to reproduce the human brain because we've learned to ask questions and build products in our outer world that are matching or trying to compete with or reproduce, replicate us. Digital and analog devices or a simple invention based off of asking the right questions and discovering the truths about ourselves. The word cybernetics comes from a Greek word which means literally the steersman. Servo mechanisms are so constructed that they're automatically steering their way towards a goal, target, or answer. You steer yourself towards the answer with the right questions, right? That's what I'm talking about. Psycho-Cybernetics, a new concept of how your brain works. When we conceive of the human brain and nervous system as a form of servo mechanism operating in accordance with cybernetic principles, we gain a new insight into the why and wherefore of human behavior. I choose to call this new concept Psycho-Cybernetics, the principles of cybernetics as applied to the human brain. I must repeat, Psycho-Cybernetics, it doesn't say that man is a machine, but rather it says that man has a machine. We are in control, by the way. He has a machine, which he uses. Let us examine some of the similarities between mechanical servo mechanisms and the human brain. The two general types of servo mechanisms. Servo mechanisms are divided into two general types. One, where the target, goal, or answer is known and the objective is to reach or accomplish it. And two, where the target or answer is not known and the objective is to discover or locate it. The human brain and nervous system operate in both ways. An example of the first type is a self guided torpedo or the interceptor missile. A target or goal is known in an enemy ship or plane, but the objective is to reach it. Such machines must know the target they're shooting for, and they must have some sort of propulsion system which propels them forward in the general direction of the target. They must be equipped with sense organs, radar, sonar, heat perceptors, etc., which bring information from the target. And these sense organs keep the machine informed when it's on the correct course, positive feedback. And when it commits an error and gets off course, this is negative feedback. The machine does not react or respond to positive feedback. It's doing the correct thing. It's not ready to react or respond. It's already doing it and keeps on doing what it's doing. There must be corrective device, however, which will respond in negative feedback. When negative feedback informs the mechanism that it's off the beam too far to the right, the corrective mechanism automatically causes the rudder to move so that it will steer the machine back to the left. If it overcorrects and heads too far to the left, the mistake is made, known through negative feedback, and the corrective device moves the rudder so it will steer the machine back to the right. The torpedo accomplishes its goal of going forward and making errors and continually correcting them by a series of zigzags that literally gropes its way to the goal. Dr. Norbert Weiner, who pioneered in the development of goal seeking mechanisms in World War II, he believes that something very similar to the foregoing happens in the human nervous system. Whenever you perform any purposeful activity, even in such a simple goal seeking situation as picking up a package of cigarettes from a table, we're able to accomplish the goal of picking up the cigarettes because of an automatic mechanism and not by the will and forebrain thinking alone. All that forebrain does is to select the goal, trigger it into an action by desire, and feed information to the automatic mechanism so that your hand continually corrects its course. In the first place, Dr. Weiner, only an anatomist would know all the muscles involved in picking up the cigarettes. But if And if you knew, you would not consciously say to yourself, well, I must contract my shoulder muscles, to elevate my arm. And now I must contract my triceps to extend my arm, etc. No, you just go ahead and you pick up the cigarettes. You're not a conscious, you are not conscious of issuing orders to individual muscles, or not even computing just how much contractions needed. When you select the goal and trigger it into action, an automatic mechanism takes over. First of all, you picked up cigarettes or performed similar movements before. Your automatic mechanisms just learned something of the correct response that's needed to do this. Next, your automatic mechanism uses feedback data furnished of the brain by your eyes, which tells it the degree to which the cigarettes are not to be picked up. Don't put your hand in a fire when you're reaching for the bag for the pack of cigarettes, right? Obvious. But obvious only because you've gotten negative feedback loops that told us before, which, if I put my hand in the fire, it's going to freaking burn off. And it's going to be far from the desired result, which is me grasping those cigarettes and putting one of those suckers in my hand and using the fire to light the cigarette, not my hand. Right? Okay. Back to the book. This feedback data enables the automatic mechanism to continually correct the motion of your hand until it's steered to the cigarettes. And a baby just learning to use its muscles, the correction of the hand is for reaching a rattle, it becomes very obvious. The baby's got little informed, stored information to draw upon. Its hand zigzags back and forth and it gropes obviously as it's reaching, but it's the characteristic of all learning that's as learning takes place, correction becomes more and more refined. We see this in a person just learning to drive a car who overcorrects and zigzags back and forth and across the street. Once, however, a correction or successful response has been accomplished, it's remembered for future use. The automatic mechanism then duplicates the successful response on future trials. It's learned how to respond successfully. It remembers its success, forgets its failures, and repeats the successful action without any further conscious thought or as a habit. I'm getting fired up because so many people have been coming to me as of late asking, "Oh my gosh, your AI is so cool. Like, how can I benefit from that myself?" It's like everyone wants to profit from AI, yet nobody fucking knows how to use AI. And guess why that is? They don't know how to use AI because they don't know how to profit from AI. Well, why? Because they don't know how to use AI. Well, why? Because they've never actually used AI. Well, why? Because they've never actually sold AI. Well, why? They've never actually known AI. Well, why? It's this loop, the cycle that keeps going through infinite loops of people saying, like, you know, AI is cool. I haven't even told people yet that AI is not taking over the world or replacing people's jobs. I haven't yet told people that it's the peoples that know AI and implement AI for profit that are going to take over the world and take people's jobs. Now, taking over the world thing is a little bit aggressive. I don't mean it in the terms of like a dictatorship and things are going to get bad. No, of my God given vision is 30% of the global, of the planet Earth I'll be a direct or indirect part of achieving financial freedom. That which we have a resource based economy, that which we have a group of people, one in three people that have actually stepped up, chosen to rise above and say, like, yeah, I learned this AI thing for profit. I know it because you can't steer a parked car. This was talking about using a car as an analogy and the analogy of the corrective feedback systems. You could not get, oh my gosh, I'm going to crash into a wall, feedback loops that says, don't steer that way, steer that way. You could not get those feedback loops and actually learn it to getting less and less and less of making errors, less and less and less to where you're now driving the straight and narrow towards your intended goal or target all the time without any negative feedback loops. We ignore the positive feedback loops because we're on track. You can't steer a parked car. All these people coming to me saying, I don't know how to profit from AI. I need to learn AI. They've got it backwards. Knowledge and implementing for profit. Everyone has got it backwards. I've got the secret because I've done it myself. The secret was implement AI for profit first, get negative feedback loops, correct them, and learn AI second. You know AI, not by watching 10,000 YouTube videos, trying to open up and learn make scenarios and go high level automations, and God forbid, any VAPI products that are going to help you create an AI voice agent or closebot products that are going to help you build a text bot agent. My God, People are sitting there focusing on the turbocharger and the air filters and the exhaust mufflers, the add-on, the bolt-ons, when they don't even understand the freaking car. They don't even understand how to freaking turn their car on and drive down the street because they're a parked car. And you can't steer a parked car and get negative feedback loops to help you learn and correct those negative feedback loops to build a product. See, I built and scaled my first digital marketing agency to $30,000 a month in 90 days by running paid ads, 0 to 10,000 a month by running cold emails en masse, 1,500 emails a day. And the first time I built those 0 to 10,000 a month, I lost it, nearly all of it, because I didn't have a product clearly defined. I got negative feedback loops, made correction, worked for free, said, I will work until you get the result. I often was working 6 weeks for a 1 month payment of $500, $600, $1,700, and $1,600, which to these people were telling me, oh my God, this is so much. This is the world. If a business owner cannot afford $2,000 investment, they've got bigger problems. But much to their credit, I also had a problem. I didn't have a product built and defined that was bulletproof and impervious to the worst business owner. It took me until May the following year, having learned paid ads as the methodology for acquiring and attracting my clients on demand, them coming to me rather than me going to them through cold emails. I now learned to close 2 to 3 deals per week on demand, them coming to me while working a full-time job. While working as a father of three and a wife, a husband to a wife that which is my soulmate, my dream girl, which I'm doing everything for, my wife and kids. I was able to grow and scale this business through paid ads, and then it collapsed. I grew to 30K a month, and on Christmas, I was called by a nasty client of mine and was upset that he didn't have end of year sales because my product sucked so bad. And I've documented since, not to point fingers. I spent 90 days hiring coaches, paying over $200,000 in education to fast track my way to success, to building a successful product. That by which by May, 1 out of 30 clients, I got one result, tangibly so. The worst business owners in the industry that I was attracting with my messaging, my marketing messaging. I'll give you 10 patients in 10 days or you don't pay. I'll give you unlimited live transfers to your office for full mouth dental arch, uh, dental implant, full mouth teeth replacement for $1,000 a month upfront in the ad, $247 per week. Yeah, that's what I was selling like hotcakes. And I was attracting the wrong people. I delivered. That $1,000 a month thing, the whole done for you package where I should have been charging 5 to 10,000 minimum, which is what I charge now today. You cannot even work with me for less than $5,000 a month recurring and a $10,000 minimum setup fee that will take you 3 to 4 to 7 to 8 weeks. Those are my starting prices for anyone looking for a done for you solution in any capacity. Because I offer three things: done for you, done with you, and do it yourself. And I found the the three types of people that are coming to me. They're done for yous are going to be businesses. In my software automation SaaS agency that's business to business, and the joint venture and partnership with other agency owners, so to speak, that are coming to me, and the people that want me to just do it for them, they're the same as the people that do it with them, which are the people looking to escape from their financial prisons and build something of their own, build a dream and legacy of their own, that which they can copy, paste, duplicate, fire themselves, and live the life on their own terms, like I'm doing myself. Those are done with you. And I'm doing both the building the software automation SaaS agency with them and teaching them. So it's both the implementing for profit and knowledge. So the first one is just implementing for profit. The done for yous, the done with yous are implementing for profit and knowledge. And the do it yourselfers is just the knowledge. I'm giving all that knowledge for free or for a small fee, and you do it yourself. And all those three people are the same. They all have the same question: how do I fucking profit from AI? I don't know AI. All have the same question and problems. They don't know how to implement AI for profit, and they don't know AI for profit. And those do it yourselfers are stuck Those done with yous can get stuck. I don't let them get stuck, but they could get stuck if they're done doing it with somebody else who lets them just stay stuck. And those done for yous, unless they keep consulting with me on a higher level, they'll get stuck eventually when I stop doing it for them and they realize they don't have me to replace them. All these people, when they get stuck, it's because they've got the equation backwards. The process is not knowledge first and implementation for profit next. You can't steer a parked car and get feedback loops if you're not actually moving. The real equation I teach people who I work with in coaching capacity is calls equals cash. Your first focus is developing a skill set for client acquisition. Your first focus is practicing financial freedom by getting your appointments on demand, getting customers to get on the phone with you, getting calls, setting appointments. You're cold calling, you're cold emailing, you're sending direct messages, you're doing Loom videos, you're running paid ads, you're doing some form of method that which I do myself or have done myself or am very proficient at teaching because I'm actually eating my own cooking. You get a client on demand system, a client acquisition system built, you get financial freedom. It's just up to you how fast you want to build it and master that skill set to getting your financial freedom. Everyone's different, doesn't matter. But in that capacity, if you try to know first and you sit around and you think all day and you watch courses and you consume content and you think about it all day, but you don't practice any things that you think, well, then you'll never get going. You'll never steer your parked car and you'll stay stuck and you will never achieve financial independence or freedoms. And when I say freedoms, I'm talking about the done for yous. They might have a lot of finances. They might not be tied down, so to speak, but they do not have freedom because they do not have the knowledge and are implementing AI for profit. They're relying on me. You rely on me or my systems, I go away. I work with a company or an individual company, and I grow and scale their operation to many multiple millions, if not billions. And I'm charging them a premium for that. Monthly recurring revenues up front. And over time, we're getting rev share on all the deals that we bring into them. And then over time, we're equity partners. We're actually vested skin in the game and growth partnerships with these companies because we actually own a piece of the company. Those are the 3 stages of evolution that bring about the fact that they're relying on me, my systems and knowledge and in implementation of AI for profit. Because if they choose to take away any of those 3 and we turn off the lights, take everything away, we give them a CSV file of all the leads that they generated with us. If they show up to an offboarding call and we get to ask questions on why they're leaving and all these great things. And if they don't get any assets. But then we turn off the lights and their profits go from here back to where they were when they started working with us. And usually, especially the longer they're with us, that's a very significant hit in top line revenue. And if they're board of directors or shareholders, get a feel for that. Headwinds also come crashing. You let go of your AI automation solutions, like you turned off your cell phone, you don't have a smartphone anymore, you don't pay your utility bill. What kind of person are you? That's what happens to these businesses. And that they don't have freedom because they're relying on me. But I teach people how to become independent. I teach people how to fish. I don't like to just feed people fish. The done for you stuff, I feed people fish because I'm following Elon Musk's business strategy. I'm serving a few people at a very high price. I charge a lot of money to a handful of people because of economics, because of cash flow, because of my time. I'm restricted in this world, as you are, by my time. There's only 24 hours in a day. Nobody on this planet Earth gets more time in the day to do more stuff. So no matter how hard I work or how much I'm earning, I'm limited. I'm limited in my time capacity. I'm also vulnerable. At any given time, if I get sick, get injured, get hurt, decide to stop, whatever, it's me and me alone. And right now, me and me alone is charging boatloads of cash, hundreds of thousands of dollars per month revenues coming into my lifestyle because that's what I need. I just did my bills the other day and realized I quoted that I've invested over $200,000 in professional education, which is 4 times the amount that I spent in college to get a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and to get a master's degree in MBA in business education. I spent a collective total 4 times as much in my private education in the last 2.5 years, um, learning digital marketing and learning how to grow and build assets, online businesses. I have multiple streams of income now. It's crazy. Like right now, how many different streams of income I have. When I say done for you, done with you, and do it yourself, guys, there's also the passive mode and the semi-passive mode in real estate that are ongoing. I didn't even describe those. I'm not talking about those. These AI powered solutions of me profiting from AI and knowing AI fuel my legacy building assets. Assets are things that produce cash without time going out. Your car and your house are not assets unless you convert them into an asset. And one of my secrets that I'm aware of, and I would be telling you and dropping knowledge on you, is that the robotaxi by Tesla is going to be released en masse and full public, and every single Tesla has the capacity to be converted to being a tool as a robotaxi. You can lease out your car when it's parked in the garage of your home or in the parking lot of your employer. Wherever you're not using your car, you could allow Tesla to take over with the mind control computer super unit and then go out and pick people up, and you would get what Elon Musk's prediction is $30,000 profit per year. That's who, how would it feel to have an extra 2,500 bucks a month that you didn't actually do anything for? How would it be to have like $575 a week coming to you when your car is parked and you're doing nothing? You spend $40,000 on a new Tesla vehicle within the first year, you potentially could make 30,000 of that back. Within the second year, you're now profiting. You now have a return on investment. Your investment has been paid back, it's been returned to you, and now your returns are infinite. So within the second year, you get your $40,000 totally paid back to you. And now your car is just making, now granted, your car won't last forever. It's not an appreciating asset in the sense that, it's going to last forever. It's mechanical, it's a moving part. That's why investing in real estate, especially cash producing real estate like commercial or apartment units, those are the things that you want to be looking out for and investing for. None of this other real estate junk. Flips, wholesale deals, like people can do it. That's fine. It's leverage. It's a lever. Your time is the most valuable thing. Your time. Use leverage. Do the same thing, but get paid more for it. Why would you work the same as hard to secure a rental flip, single unit, family home, duplex, quadplex? I don't give a crapplex unless it's 32 doors or more. You won't be able to generate enough cash flow producing revenue in a month to hire and pay a good property manager that lives on property $60,000 or more per year, or else he's stealing from you. If you try to cheap him out and pay him 3 grand a month, 36 grand a year, you think anyone can live off 36 grand in 2025 in any first world country? You're out of your mind. You have to pay them at least double that, at least $70,000 in any city, in any town. You have to have at least 32, 40 doors in any unit. Those are the kinds of things you need to be investing your time in because it's leverage. You do the same amount of work to get those deals secured, multi-million dollar deals secured, the same as you would no money down. If it's easier to get to and to do the thing, like it's easier to get a loan for these stupid things, it's harder to get out of them. It's easier to get into a like self-driving car, or not self-driving. It's easier to get into a driving car money making opportunity, which is the DoorDashes, the Ubers, the Instacarts, the goodness gracious, there's a lot of them. You just put it out there. When you feel like, oh, I'm going to roll out of bed in the morning and do my thing, I'm just going to turn. It's easier to get into that thing. It's harder to get out of. There's more competition and less valuable. No one's going to buy your house. No one's going to buy your like no money down like single family unit. You got one door. You're reliant upon 100% occupancy with one person's decision. And one person decides to boot or decides to trash your place, and you have 100% vacancy from 100% occupancy. And your cash flow goes to zero and you're dependent upon you and you alone. This is when you're limited and vulnerable, but use leverage. So I learned to leverage myself by selling a lot of money to the small markets. Then, as Elon Musk did, you'll have more cash flow and the ability to scale, to reach more people, to lower the prices of which you're charging, and to reach a bigger segment of the market. And it's only when you're an Amazon, a Tesla, an Apple, when you're these sizes of businesses. Microsoft is there, but no one really feels that cool buying Microsoft products anymore because it's the why behind Microsoft. It's the vision. It's the vision from the visionary that sets the stage for the products people want to buy and get behind. People can get behind guys like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, love him or hate him. Jeff Bezos is doing great things. Richard Branson. I mean, these guys are visionaries. And the truth being is that these people have figured out one major thing, and it's leverage. Once they get to that point, they've grown and scaled themselves through systems, people, automations. Now they can reach a mass public, a wider, broader audience, lowering their price point and reaching more people. But it's only then, and it's only at that point that you follow that recipe. I did it the other way around. When I was doing my marketing agency from scratch and having no freaking idea what I was doing, spent 3 months, paid tens of thousands of dollars. At this point, I was at about $50,000 into education when I made my first dollar online. Not schooling education with the bachelor's degree and the master's degree in business and engineering. No, no. Private education. Got clicked on some ads, clicked on some YouTubes, had friends refer to, join some Facebook groups, this kind of thing. It's like all internet marketing stuff hit me, and I paid money, which I didn't have and did have. Like some of it was just cash out of my bank because I was an engineer making a salary and I had some savings, and other was financed. And now I've got this massive loads of debt that I have mentioned, and I'm not even worried about it. I don't focus on it. I focused on changing the way I eliminated that debt. I used to think I needed tens of thousands of dollars a month. See, as an engineer, I was making thousands of dollars a month. With my wife and I combined for the last 10 or 15, 17 years, um, we've been making at least $10,000 a month taking home. And when I left my company, I looked at my paychecks and it was around like $8,800 take home with all the crap that they take out from insurance and blah, 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 blahs. Okay. And you do the math, and there's months when my wife doesn't make any, and months at most she makes, say, like $1,500 a month. She works 3 days a month as a NICU nurse, primary children's hospital, and she gets called off a lot. I tell her, get called off. You work night shift. You're a day shift person, and 3 days out of the week when you have to work, the day before when you sleep to prep, the day of, and the day after when you're recovering, sleep, converting back to days. I lose you. I lose my wife for 3 out of 7 days every time she works. 3 days a month doesn't sound like much. You want to bitch and moan and complain? Well, guess what? Half of the week she's gone. Now she's getting really good and she's a freaking solid. She's such a champ. Way better than me in a lot of ways. She compliments me and is the only reason why I'm here speaking to you today. Because if I never met my wife in 2002, I literally would have become a bum, feeling sorry for myself, playing rock and roll music like the majority of all my friends from high school continue to do. And nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't be here speaking with you today. I would have no motivation. I would be motivated by other things. I would not live in the house that I live in for the last 14 years. A house at which, when we bought our house here, people were spending around 150 to on the top end $300,000 for a home in Salt Lake City, Utah, in any county of Utah. It's crazy. We sold our home, bought in 2004 for 175,000, bought for my grandma. I really paid 140K, and then I owed her the remaining balance in blood money, and I paid it back later down the road, the down payment, which she didn't have a down payment, but I just paid her back the down payment over time. So I was able to get a 80/20 loan with no PMI insurance at the age 20. I was living on my girlfriend's my technically should have been living on my grandma's couch, but I was living in my girlfriend's house, like sleeping over, spending endless nights rather than going home to my grandma and aunt that I lived with. Technically, I was making them sick that I was never there, and then they just got used to it, and they realized I was basically living at my wife's, well, my girlfriend's house. up until I get a call from my grandma from out of town. She lives in California. I was in Utah. She's, congratulations, you've qualified for a home. And we bought our first home. And when we sold our home 7 years later, I sold it for 200,000, let's say. And I refinanced two times to put in, uh, like HVAC stuff, air conditioning, heating, new windows. It was built in 1960, and I was paying a lot of money and in utility bills, and life wasn't comfortable, and I remodeled the thing, and so I still profited even after all of that. Coming out, upgraded this home. It's $550,000 on the market. I paid 515 at the time. Back then, it was unheard of. Nobody was spending that kind of money in 2011 that were 26 years old in Utah, Salt Lake City. There were other parts of the world and other countries. That's fine. But I had a job. I was working. Great. I had a vision. I had a dream. I built this home, 4,400 square feet for two people. We were infertile for 3.5 years. I had a dream and a vision of filling it with humans, with kids. Upstairs, my boys' room, we've got a loft. So in their room, so all of my house in the first floor ceilings are about 15 to 25 feet. I've got vaulted ceilings and a pitch in every single one of the rooms. I love it. Each one of my rooms has a roof pitch. So it's not like most vaulted ceiling homes like my dad's or other places where, like each room is like basically moving up to the roof pitch. And you've got one great room. You pick your room most of the time, it's the family room, living room. One great room that's got the roof pitch, which has the highest ceiling. And all the other rooms have this like slanted roof dealio to it. Not in my house. Every single one of my rooms, including my entryway, has the highest ceiling. So you're like floored. When you walk into this home, you have a 30-foot ceiling. It's a fucking bitch to change the batteries in my smoke detector and fire alarm because it's over my spiral staircase that goes to my bottom floor. So I've got this Rambler style home that's got like a 30-foot ceiling. And then again, I've got elevated ceilings in my basement. So we've got like another 10 feet. So it's like 40-foot fucking drop from the top of the ceiling. I have to put this ladder and I'm like over extending my arm to change the battery. And I'm looking at this drop because I've got a railing banister. And if I were to drop and die, I'd fall 40 feet. Fuck that. I just took the battery out of that fucker and left it out. But yes, this is crazy that we got this kind of opportunity, which is converted in a couple $1,000,000 now. 10, 14 years later, if I were to sell this thing. I'm not cash flowing it right now, and I probably will be selling it here relatively soon, or I may hang on to it when I expand into the next home that we're going to be buying up the street for 10 million bucks. So I don't know what the plan is with the place I live, and it doesn't quite matter. But this extreme long renting journey of me changing the way I think by going, oh, I was making thousands of dollars as an engineer to being like, oh, to live the life that I want and to like, scale up and eventually, do the things like quit my job and replace my incomes. I got to be making tens of thousands of dollars, like, not just thousands of dollars. But then when I did my math and I added up, I'm like, man, the investment of me putting into my knowledge has got me 275 in the hole. There is some like personal stuff expenses there. Remodeled my backyard as well for the first time in 14 years. I filled up a freaking hole that was in my backyard. The guy who built the home in 2007, he was going to put in a lap pool. Never in almost 20 years, 18 years has it ever had a lap pool. We had a hot tub down there, useless. So I couldn't use my backyard. So I filled up the hole. I put in a slide that goes down the walkout basement staircase, put in a rock wall where that walkout basement staircase new wall is, where I filled in the hole. I built a new wall. And I put a continuation of the flagstone all around the backyard because I had these really nice, ginormous pieces of flagstone. And I got a bunch of weeds and crap that used to always grow in between it. And I had like moss and I'd have to like pick the weeds and all this crap. No, we filled it up with like this amazing product. It's like an epoxy sand thing. Never again can a weed grow through it. And now it's level. Every single one of those stones is level rather than jagged and like the roots from the tree. They had a ginormous pine tree. It was like above the height of my house. So I'm guessing 50 feet tall pine trees, two pine trees, ripped them both out, cut them both down, got rid of them completely, eliminated. Amazing stuff. Ripped out the root system, put in 5 little, columnar, um, s evergreen trees, like, like pine tree, but they're evergreen, they're really soft leaves and stuff, like 5 of them in the backyard, super short for now, but they'll grow taller. Put a trampoline in my backyard. Um, I built 2 pergolas, like, you know, like with these little like why am I telling you all these details about the crap that I did and the money I've invested? Is I've imagined this stuff. I thought of these things. Like my wife's like, dude, have you ever thought that if we tried to sell this house that no one would buy like they weren't in 2011? Not because it was the bottom of the recession and people weren't buying, but no, it's because this backyard has a freaking hole in the back and it's ridiculous and you're embarrassed to even show people. I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought of it like that. I always thought of your desire to fix the backyard as just your desire alone, and I never actually heard your desires. Never actually heard you out and like scoped it out. And I did that. I scoped it out and it was like, yeah, dude, it's gonna be crazy and expensive, but like do it. And I did it and I did it right. And I hired the best company in town and they did amazing things with my backyard. Now I loved and enjoyed it. Now I've got places to hang out and play with my kids. Like I have so much stuff. I have a freaking swing set back there now. I've got all this kid stuff and all this grown up stuff. I have like amazing fire pit that's like 4 foot flames. I've got this amazing like grill thing. It's not like a grill anymore. It's like the hibachi grill in those restaurants when they like, it's an amazing new product that I freaking cook on it and love the thing all day, every day. They fixed my backyard, like the back landing strip. So now I have like 1 strip of grass that my dog does the deal. I didn't even train the dog. It's got this success mechanism, this success instinct, right? The dog just knew where to go do the duty. And I didn't have to train it to go on the side of the house. And now I've got only one place to pick up crap where it was everywhere previously. The dog would crap everywhere in the backyard, all the flagstones, everywhere. And a little like weird garden strip that we never really used, like a strip of dirt that we put some. No, that's gone now. It's so nice and clean and crisp. And it's all because I thought about it. Like my wife is like, "Hey, have you ever imagined this?" Yeah, I did imagine this and I believe you and I agree with you and I'm going to make it happen. And I made it happen. And now I'm living the life of my dreams. I actually took the chance to quit my job, corporate engineer 18 years, and live life on my own terms. And I'm not happier than I've ever been. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. And I actually have data to prove it. I have data. I wear an aura ring. I wear an aura ring that can track your resilience and it can track your stress. It can track your, um, I can't remember. I think it's just the resilience, but it effectively is tracking like my stress levels in my body, my cortisol. It's got these like light sensors that can see stuff through my skin. And it's incredibly accurate, this ring, but it's been showing an upward trend. See, I went on vacation over the holidays and took my wife and kids. We left on Christmas Day down to Clearwater Beach, Florida. We spent 3, 4 days in the beach and sun, and then we cruised over to Orlando and we went 2 days at Disney. So we did the Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, and then we did New Year's Eve and stayed till 3 in the morning at Universal Studios. And then we had another day in Florida, and then we came home. And all that time was amazing because I looked at this chart and it's just growing. It's growing, growing to the strongest resilience level they have. So I'm already like it's strong and I'm clipping like exceptional or something. And the month or so before it, it was like flatline at strong. And it was crazy is in November when I quit my job, I'd never hit the strong resilience. I was like down into like weak performance level. It was growing, it was climbing, but it was like down below. And like for 2 months, when I was birthing the corporate escape artist, this business idea, this brand, $1 billion brand idea that just came to me. I've been struggling for 40 years of my life to figure out like what's the meaning and purpose of my life. And when that came to me, my resilience level was a little bit better, but even before then it was lower. But now it's like got clear evidence that I'm living the life of my dreams all because I thought it. I conceived it. And what happened was I got moving. My car got driving. I took it from park and put it into gear and said, I'm going to walk out of this place with no recurring revenues. It's the craziest thing I've ever done. I've never done something where I wasn't like fully planned and prepared. My wife knows that we're the same way. And she's like, dude, you're not giving me safety, comfort, financial security. Like, what are you doing quitting your job now? If I'd have just worked until December 31st, I would have gotten a $40,000 bonus check mailed to me next month in February. I quit on November 11th. I couldn't just hang tight for 6 weeks and then bounce. No. You know how much revenue earning opportunity I've made in the last 6 weeks? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So to take 15 minutes to explain my point, I changed my mindset from thousands of dollars a month as an engineer to tens of thousands of dollars a month as an agency owner, online business guy. And I was thinking I was going to remain the same at 10,000, tens of thousands of dollars per month was what I was earning while I was working. And I thought, no, now it's hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And in this year, we'll be a million a month. My coach, Mark Dama, you look him up. He coached and worked with Sam Ovens, who's the owner of the school community, and look up Sam Ovens, look up Mark Dama. My coach coaches people for a mil a month. That's his business. He hires people like me and coaches them from making a million or millions a year to million a month, 8 figures. So you're at 7 figures, you're a 7 figure earner, and you're stuck. Me, I was at tens of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands a month. So 100K a month. I think it's like 83 or 84,000 a month is when you make a million a year. 100K was like my ceiling. 100K per month. I was saying tens of thousands of dollars is, my floor. To raise your ceiling, you have to raise your floor. So my ceiling, I was telling myself like, oh yeah, multimillionaire, billionaire, like all this crap. I was creating cognitive dissonance. When I opened up my eyes, I'm like, whoa, I'm nowhere near that like $1 billion mark that I set to have in my lifetime. If I'm gonna have this done in 19 years, by the time I'm 60, holy shiz balls, Batman, I gotta do something different. It's the same feeling that I said to myself when I was working 10 years into my 18-year corporate job when I was like, I'm not going to be a lifer here, but I got to find something different or do something else. Because if I'm not lying to other people when I say I'm not going to be a lifer, I'm lying to myself. 10 years into a job. By the time I quit, I was 41 years old. The day I turned 41, I had 18 years. That's almost half my life. Say lifer. What else could you say that's not a lifer? Like, there's nothing else I did longer in my lifetime other than my wife time because I met her when I was 18 rather than met my corporate slave employer when I was 22. There's nothing else besides my wife time that I've done in my lifetime that's more than I gave away. And I was saying I was going to be a lifer. So I had to change my mind, change my concept, change my floor, change my ceiling truly by raising my floor, my minimum acceptance and tolerance. And 8 years ago, I started thinking about other opportunities. I'd already gone to business school when I was 29. I enrolled in business schools. I'm like, I got to do something now. If I'm not going to get too old and I get tired and I can't do this anymore, or I start to have kids or whatever, saw my wife's friends from work, their husbands were like, yeah, we're in business school. We're doing great things. My wife's like, dude, you should open a freaking food truck and send it to my work. And when I was 29 years old, what was that? 2011. In 2011, there was no food truck craze phenomenon like there is here in Utah right now. That happened either when I was in business school or after I got out of business school, like 2014, 2015. All of a sudden, food trucks were like dime a dozen. And that great business idea my wife had, it's now like not a business idea that's great to pursue. I mean, restaurant business is really tough. I know people have done it. I know people have done franchise in businesses. I actually, my daughter's dance friend and an original preschool friend when she was 3 years old. Her bestie at that time, their parents are the founders of Costa Vida. They're restaurant businesses. Now they're serial entrepreneurs and they've owned many other successful businesses, but restaurant business is hard, man. That was a great idea, but at 29, I was like 2011, I was thinking differently. But then by the time I'm 10 years into the job, when I was 23 or when I was 33 years old, from 23 to 33, 22 to 32, whatever it was, I'm like, dude, I got to do something different. I raised my floor and there my ceiling raised. And it took me 5 years doing something kind of stupid to finally actually make money. After I discovered digital marketing, digital real estate, online business where I didn't have to drive to a place every day, either stop off from the office and spend 2 hours in stores like Nordstrom, Shields, Target, freaking the malls. Like, holy crap, dude. Let's get real for a minute. That like there's better ways to find your prospects. You get a client acquisition system so that you can actually get financial freedom. Because without a client acquisition system, you'll never achieve financial independence ever. Ever, 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 ever is my belief. I'm sure there's other people that believe differently and they can definitely create that reality and have me buy into it. Please bring it to my attention. I want to know how to manifest the financial freedoms just by closing my eyes and thinking. But until you get that client acquisition system dialed in and you're not having to utilize yourself and limit it on your time and your energy and effort by prospecting in person, meeting people, interrupting conversation, getting their phone number, and happens chance like 2 weeks later, interrupt them in a shot out of blue idea of like, oh, I'm just thinking about you. You came to mind on business matter, and I'm going to bait and switch you from being your friend to transacting you into business. And if you don't transact right today, then I forget about you. Next, I don't put you on my follow up list. Harvard Business Studies not only have quantified the speed to lead, the 391% increased conversion in sales when you contact your customer in the first 5 minutes or less, but they've actually described studies on the follow up. It takes something like 7 touch points, 7 follow ups for someone to actually want to buy from you. 7 hours is the number. 7 hours, 7 hours of touch points. I say 7 times follow up, but I think it's 7 hours. That's why YouTube's a great medium because then you can digest and watch over 7 hours of me, and then you know who I am. These videos are raw and unedited and candid for that purpose. This audio podcast is raw and real and unedited. And unfortunately, some of them go much longer because I'll ramble like this one, but the ramblings are very valuable. Ramblings are not only a documentation, video blogging, and audio blogging, if you will, of my current life situation and happenstance, because I'm challenging myself to develop new patterns of habit of thinking and thought. I'm on this 30-day thought experiment trial because I'm going to just test something out. I'm doing handwritten notes every single day. And I'm actually doing these handwritten notes and I'm pushing them to my school community and letting you guys just like take this. You can have this for free. You can look at it and be like, wow, this is real and raw and unedited. And these are the things he's working on right now. And I can maybe copy and emulate for myself and take the chicken wing and take the meat off the bone that which is useful for myself and then throw away the rest and add a little bit of my own thing. And now you've got your genius. That's what Bruce Lee said. I won't quote him word for word, but Google it. That was effectively what he's doing. And I'm giving that opportunity because that's what I'm doing. I'm learning and changing and growing reading this book. So again, forgive me for these long segments where we talk about things not related to the book, but these long segments are very pertinent because all of this is tied. It's all correlated. Every one of my life experiences, the journey, everything that I'm sharing with has all been a byproduct or a benefit of me discovering something and asking questions and changing the way I think. This chapter is called Discovering the Success Mechanism Within You. This chapter is about discovering the magnificence and the beauty of the human by asking questions when we built the first computer. Like, is this computer good enough? Like, is it capable? Is whatever is a human mind? And then we realized, hey, man, our human mind's amazing and we can actually change it just by thinking differently. We get a different result, an outcome. So I raised my ceiling by raising my floor. The cognitive dissonance is no longer there because my inner world now matches my outer world. When I said, hey, I've got to actually make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month because my real goal is $1 million a month. But how can you have a $1 million a month goal if you have $10 a month realities? When your floor is $10 a month minimum in your bank account, you'll never go less than $10. That's all you tolerate. You don't tolerate less, so therefore you won't achieve more. You can strive for more, but cognitive dissonance will cause you to fail on that striving and achieving because it's a white-knuckled effort approach. It's not actually just like, as they say, maybe God-given. It's not actually like natural. It's not natural. When it becomes natural is when you raise your floor. When you raise your minimum standard to $1 million a month. I do not tolerate any less than $1 million in my bank account. In that moment, I feel poor. I feel so freaking broke when there's only $1 million left. Holy shizballs, Batman. I got a lot of projects and a lot of things I got to do on this planet Earth. They require finances, resources, and a resource based economy. I need money, not because it's evil, because it's a utility for the good that I'm doing, for the change growth, the 30% of world financial freedom to allow to expand humanity across the cosmos, to extend our lifespan, to me, potentially to be like in the Ender's Game sequel called Speaker for the Dead, where Ender traveled 3,000 years in the future, to be able to live and see and do that many things. Science fiction becoming science reality. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I don't ever want to live beyond 3,000 years, but up to 3,000, I'm definitely good with that. Okay. I know at the 1,000 year mark, according to the Twilight vampire character series, you lose your freaking mind. But those guys never slept. So I could get 3 times as much before I'd lose my freaking mind because I sleep very well. But here's the deal, all this came from changing the way we think by what? This chapter is all about discovery. It's about asking good questions. You ask good questions and you'll get good answers. How your brain finds answers to problems. Now let us suppose that the room's dark, so you cannot see the cigarettes. You know or hope there's a package of cigarettes on the table, along with a variety of other objects. Instinctively, your hand will begin to grope back and forth, performing zigzag motions or scanning, rejecting one object after another until the cigarettes are found and recognized. It's an example of the second type of the servo mechanism. Recalling a name temporarily forgotten is another example. A scanner in your brain scans back through in your stored memories until the correct name is recognized. An electronic brain solves problems in much the same way. First of all, a great deal of data must be fed into the machine. This stored or recorded information is the machine's memory. A problem's posed to the machine, scans back and forth through the memory until it locates the only answer which is consistent with it and meets all the conditions of the problem. But a problem and answer together constitute a whole situation or structure. When part of the situation or structure, the problem, is given to the machine, it locates the only missing parts or the right size brick, or so to speak, the complete structure. The more that it's learned about the human brain, the more closely it resembles, insofar as functions concerned, a servo mechanism. For example, Dr. Wilder Penfield, director of the Montreal Neurological Institute, recently reported at a meeting of the National Academy of Sciences that he discovered a recording mechanism in a small area of the brain which apparently records everything that a person's ever experienced, observed, or even learned. During a brain operation in which the patient was fully awake, Dr. Penfield happened to touch a small area of the cortex with a surgical instrument. At once, the patient exclaimed that she was reliving an incident from her childhood, which she'd consciously forgotten. Further experiments along with this line of thinking brought the same results. When certain areas of the cortex were touched, patients didn't merely remember past experiences, they relived them, experiencing as very real all the sights and sounds and sensations. It says sensations, but I know it's also smells. They're smelling things in their memory. They're getting the very real experiences, all the sights, sounds, and sensations of the original experience. It was just as if the past experiences had been recorded on a tape recorder and played right back. Just how a mechanism as small as the human brain can store such a vast amount of information is still a mystery. British neurophysicist W. Gray Walter has said that at least 10 billion electronic cells would be needed to build a facsimile of a man's brain. These cells would occupy about 1.5 million cubic feet, and several additional millions of cubic feet would be needed for the nerves or the wiring to hook it all up. Crazy. Power required to operate it would be 1 billion watts. Jeez Louise. A look at the automatic mechanism in action. Well, we marvel at the awesomeness of the interceptor missiles, which can compute in a flash the point of interception of another missile and be there at the correct instant to make contact. Yet, we're not witnessing something just as wonderful each time that we center fielder catch a fly ball. Or, in order to compute where the ball will fall or where the point of interception will be, he must also take into account the speed of the ball, its curvature of fall, its direction, wind age. Wind age? What's that? Initial velocity and the rate of progressive decrease in velocity. He must take these computations so fast that he'll be able to take off at the crack of the bat. Next, he must compute just how fast he must run and in what direction in order to arrive at the point of interception at the same time the ball does. The center fielder doesn't even think about this. His built in goal striving mechanism computes it for him from data which he feeds it through his eyes and ears. The computer in his brain takes this information, compares it with stored data, memories of other success and failures, and catching fly balls. All necessary computations are made in a flash, and orders are issued to his leg muscles as he just runs. Can you guys digest that for a second? Those of us who think we can't do good things, we're not smart enough, we're not capable enough, holy bullshit crap. Our brain is more phenomenal than we can even duplicate. Did you hear all the computations that just happened? The physics, the curvature of the earth, it didn't even mention in here. It just said the curvature of the ball. The curvature of the earth impacts and influences the fall of that ball. Do you understand? This is crazy. Yet our goal striving success mechanism automatically does a thing through this sensory input from our sound, our ears, our all of our senses pick up, detect, compute, translate into action, and we just hook it. We know where to go when the ball crack of the sound and we see it in the sky. We run right to the point, hit our mid up in the air, and pop that pop fly. My son Christian, my middle child, is an amazing ball player. And we've been practicing ball flies or pop flies and grounders and playing catch and hitting balls in my neighborhood all month long of December, except for the time when we were in Florida. And he's increasingly improved his skill set just by playing catch with the boy. While everyone's at work, I'm playing catch with my son. I heard the people that I walked away from, the company I walked away from, one of my coaching clients has told me is gotten so bad. They've required 100% mandatory on site on in attendance, even starting at 8 a.m. He used to drive from a faraway place, show up at 8:05, 8:10, and listen in on his ear set to his daily morning meeting. Now he's no longer able to do that. He just has to wake up earlier and get there sooner. More people are going to be leaving. How many of you are actually feeling that same death grip of the workplace now that COVID is 4 years, almost 5 years down the road? March of 2025, excuse me, is going to be the 5th year mark anniversary. And most of all, if not all, employers are getting rid of the remote work from home workplace and at least a hybrid schedule. And my old employer, he said, when you left, dude, it got worse. I don't know if it was before the writing was on the wall. I had an exemption 2 months before I walked away. They brought everyone back in the office, but they were still saying there was some workplace flexibility. He's saying, I don't know how it's going to be after the new year when people got their bonuses on December 31st. Now they qualify for that check, which I said I walked away from happily to trade a $40,000 bonus check I'll get in February, which I won't get, but I could have got if I stayed for those 6 weeks. Those 6 weeks are now making me hundreds of thousands of dollars on track for $1 million months this year, 2025. I'll go from 6 figure to 8 figure on paper. I'll prove it to you. If I don't, who cares? Aim for the moon, shoot for the stars, land on the moon, whatever they say. Aim for the moon, basically, you end up in the atmosphere. Like, dude, at least that's my goal target. And I'm manifesting and I'm using this book to basically practice and do a thought experiment, a science, a special work request, an SWR, a test experiment. That's all I'm doing. I'm experimenting with my life. I'm experimenting a new way of thinking and seeing if it produces different results. So once I raise my floor from thousands a month to hundreds of thousands a month to be able to tolerate 1 million a month, it's like, holy crap, man, it started happening. Opportunities are flooding me right now. I'm only able to see those three correlative done with use, done for use, and do it yourself use, as everyone's got the same common problem and pain point, which I'm solving for with the answer to the question. They're asking a question. How do I profit from AI and how do I know AI? And I give you the answer is elegant. I just tell you to move. I give it for you, done for you or done with you. And I say, here you go. Like, do the thing. The do it yourselves. I give you the thing, but you got to get moving. You got to hire yourself a client. You got to get experience. You've got to get some corrective feedback loops. Once you get those corrective feedback loops, now you can come back and learn the thing. You come back, play, huddle, play. Hey, coach, where do I go wrong? What do I do? And I say, yeah, you go do this thing. You go fix that thing. Or, hey, go ask HL Pro Tools or Extendly. Go ask them for customer support and have them manage your customers and your clients. And you focus on client acquisition and sales. Calls equals cash. You want more cash? Get more calls. Don't worry about freaking fulfillment. Let me handle fulfillment. You offload, white label your customer service, your technical support, and you focus on calls and cash. And then you learn as you go. You learn the whole business when you need to. You open the XYZ account, LLCs, you open your bank accounts, you buy these softwares, you do all the things and upgrade when you need it, not before. Why waste time and money trying to know something? A lot of people are messing up that equation. I got to know it before I do it. I can't sell it if I don't know it. And I don't make any money when I don't sell it. But I don't sell it because no one trusts me and likes me and thinks I know it. So I got to know it. But I can't know it because I'm not really actually knowing it because I don't use it. And I don't use it well because I haven't been, required or forced to. I haven't sold it, but I haven't been required or forced to know it and use it because I haven't sold it because I don't know it, because people won't trust and like and believe me, and I need testimonials and I need case study and evidence before I get started. So I got to know it. So I got to know it, but I actually never know it. I've spent 10,000 hours on YouTube and I'm trying to do something new and I'm getting bogged down and trying to learn all these things and I don't know it. And I'm looking for help, but I don't have any money to pay for help and I don't know it. So I don't have any money. So you see this perpetual cycle. I just went on 2 or 3 times to demonstrate the infinite loops and the feedback loops that once you take your parked car and you start driving it and steering it, play, huddle, play, go run the play, go huddle back with your coach and get some feedback, corrective loops, and then go run another play. That's the equation, guys. If you want to have financial freedom, your client acquisition system comes first. Clients on demand means calls on demand. Book your calendar automatically, or I have a system that does it for you. At the beginning, it could be you, sweat equity, outbound dialing, cold emailing, cold messaging on platforms that are DM friendly. These are the ways that you make your initial organic scratch. Once you've got your organic scratch, your organic flywheel built up, you've got a brand, reputation, and you've got some outbound, some clients, and some cash coming in. Now, I mean, I would bypass all that crap and go straight to paid ads. But guess what? There's power when you build an organic flywheel before the paid ads. I've done paid ads first. I've had success and results from paid ads. But guess what? Paid ads alone didn't provide retention. Paid ads alone didn't provide like automatic closure. Like when you say like high pressure sales, it's because you're pushing a product or a service on someone who doesn't feel like they need it. They're not buying from you. High pressure sales is when someone's not buying from you, but you're manipulating them into getting your thing. The easiest way to sell is to like actually help people, demonstrate them that you can help them by actually helping them first for free. And then they know, like, and trust you and want more. And they come to you and they ask you to be sold. Now, I don't know how long this run is going to last, but with the organic, guys, a little secret I want to reveal. And this is no slight to any of my current or future clients because I love you all. But I have a 100% close success rate right now. I'm not even trying. I'm not high pressure selling anybody. I don't have the time or bandwidth to work with everyone. So, guess what? Why would I high pressure sell you? I just want to help you. And if I can help you, I'll say, like, hey, here's maybe how I can work together and how I could help you. And I cost this much. And guess what? Like, I get it. Like, if you can't afford me, we'll get creative. I've done creative deals with over half my clients so far. And creative deals means I give you the one recipe to focus on. At first, calls equals cash. You become an appointment setter. You master your client acquisition system. And once you've mastered that client acquisition system, you're financially free. We do deals together. I close them for you. You learn from me closing, then you learn from me fulfilling. Over the shoulder, you watch as I fulfill. You learn AI by implementing AI for profit because we close the deals and I split the cash. I pay myself back for what you owe. And then we partner in such a way that one, two, three, five, maybe deals at the most later, you've actually learned the freaking thing from top to bottom. You could do it on your own. Now go run the play. Hey, come back, coach. Let's huddle together and help me out. That's what those office hour calls are for. You'll hop on and be like, yeah, I got this problem. I got this client. I got this techie solution. I got this thing. I got this blah, 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 blah. Yeah, yeah. Well, here's how to do it. Now go run the play. You get up back out there and you go run it, and guess what? You know it. You get corrective feedback loops. So in this case and situation, I'm the coach. I'm an external, corrective feedback loop system, like a missile guidance system has an external. In this case of the book was describing is we have an internal missile guiding system, an internal success servo mechanism. Pay attention. Science can build the computer, but not the operator. Dr. Weiner said that at no time in the foreseeable future will scientists be able to construct an electronic brain anywhere near comparable to the human brain. I think that our gadget conscious public has shown an unawareness of the special advantages and special disadvantages of electronic machinery as compared with the human brain, he says. The number of switching devices in the human brain vastly exceeds the number in any computing machine yet developed or even thought of for the design in the near future. But even as such a machine be built, it would lack an operator. A computer doesn't have a forebrain, not an eye, but it can't pose problems all by itself. It has no imagination and it cannot set goals for itself. It cannot determine which goals are worthwhile and which are not, and it has no emotions. It cannot feel, and it only works on new data fed to it by an operator, by feedback data it secures from its own sense organs and from information previously stored. Is there an infinite storehouse of ideas, knowledge, and power? Many great thinkers of all ages have believed that man's stored information isn't limited by his own memories of past experiences and learned facts. There's one mind common to all individual men, said Emerson, who compared our individual minds to the inlets in an ocean of universal mind. Edison believed that he got some of his ideas from a source outside of himself. Once, when complimented for a creative idea, he disclaimed credit, saying that ideas are in the air. And if he'd not discovered it, someone else would have. Dr. J.B. Rhine, head of Duke University's parapsychology laboratories, proved experimentally that man has access to knowledge, facts, and ideas other than his own individual memory or stored information from learning or experience alone. Telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition have been established by scientific laboratory experiments. Hear me out. It's scientific fact, not woo woo. His findings that man possesses some extrasensory factor, which he calls psi, are no longer doubted by scientists who have seriously reviewed his work. As Professor R.H. Thules of Cambridge University says, the reality of phenomena must be regarded as proved as certainly as anything in scientific research can be proved. We have found, says Dr. Ryan, that there's a capacity for acquiring knowledge that transcends the sensory functions. This extrasensory capacity can give us knowledge, certainly of objective and very likely of subjective states, knowledge of matter and most probably of matter and minds, my friends. Schubert said to have told a friend that his own creative process consisted in remembering a melody that neither he nor anyone else had ever thought of before. Many creative artists, as well as psychologists who've made a study of the creative process, have actually been impressed by the similarity of their creative inspiration, sudden revelation, intuition, etc., and ordinary human memory. I'm going to tell you, this is um, the thing that, like, if you get an inspired action or thought or belief, take action on it, because if you don't, it's in the ether. If they, you call it ether, and other people around the world, they're on the same vibrational level as you, will pick up on that and think of it as their own idea and run with it. I had an idea, run with it. Didn't yet run with it, but I had an idea imparted by me from one of my coaches that says, hey, you should look in this other industry. Here's another industry guy, let's say he's a brand building guy, that says built a brand building company from scratch, from zero, to prove it's not luck. And so that's a great catchline, headline, title, phrase. I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to document my journey and do the same kind of a video. Well, here I am, been like building the thing, but not actually producing the thing. And one of another amazing colleague and mentor, Charlie Barber, is just barely put on his YouTube channel, I think yesterday it says like starting an AI automation agency from $0 to prove it's not luck. Hello. Now I'm still going to release my own. It's still going to be my own title of the same thing. Built an AI agency from scratch to prove it's not luck, because this is what I'm doing. Like, you took me out of the environment at which I am, put me in the middle of, let's say, Honduras, gave me a laptop and a cell phone and an internet connection, and I built a $1 million corporation from scratch all over again. I quit my job, had no recurring revenues or incomes, didn't have anything coming in, and I've been making money consistently. I made money before my next paycheck. I was unintentionally paid two more times, a full paycheck and like a half paycheck that I didn't even expect. I quit November 11th expecting no more income from my job, and I was fine with it. I was fine with it. But the key thing is about getting guaranteed replacement recurring revenues. And that's where learning these skills of implementing AI for profit and knowing AI come into play, because you can take me away from the thing, dump me in the middle of nowhere, and I can reproduce and rebuild things from scratch, from nothing. So the thing is, when you're searching for a new idea or an answer to a problem is in fact very similar to searching memory for a name you've forgotten. You know the name is there, or else you wouldn't search. The scanner in your brain scans back and over stored memories until the desired name is recognized or discovered. The answer exists now. In much the same way, when we set out to find new data or the answer to a problem, we must assume that the answer exists already somewhere. And it's set out to find, and Dr. Norbert Weiner has said, once a scientist attacks a problem which he knows to have an answer, his entire attitude is changed. He's already some 50% of his way toward that answer. Norbert Weiner, the human use of human beings, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? When you set out to do creative work, whether in the field of selling, managing a business, writing a sonnet, improving a human religion or relations, or whatever, you begin with the goal in mind and end in to be achieved a target answer, which, although perhaps somewhat vague, will be recognized when achieved. If you really mean business, have an intense desire, and begin to think intensely about all angles of the problem, your creative mechanism goes to work, and the scanner we spoke of earlier begins to scan back through stored information or grope its way to an answer. It selects an idea here, a fact there, a series of former experiences, and relates them or ties them together into a meaningful whole, which will fill out the incompleted portion of your situation, complete your equation, or love, or solve your problem, excuse me. When this solution served up to your consciousness, often at an unguarded moment when you're thinking of something else, or perhaps even as a dream while your consciousness is asleep, something clicks and you at once recognize this as the answer that you have been searching for. In this process, does your creative mechanism also have access to stored information in a universal mind, maybe? Numerous experiences of creative workers would seem to indicate that it does. How else would, for example, explain the experience of Louis Agassiz told by his wife? He had been striving to decipher the somewhat obscure impression of a fossil fish on the stone slab in which it was preserved. Weary and perplexed, he put his work aside at last and tried to dismiss it from his mind. Shortly after, he waked one night, persuaded that while asleep he'd seen his fish with all the missing features perfectly restored. He went to the Jardin des Plantes, thinking that on looking anew and an impression that he would see something that he would put him on track to his vision. In vain, the blurred record was as blank as ever. The next night he saw the fish again, but when he waked it disappeared from his memory as before. Hoping the same experience might be repeated, on the third night he placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before he went to sleep. Towards morning, the fish reappeared in his dream, confusedly at first, but at last with such distinctness that he no longer had any doubt as its zoological characters. Still half dreaming in imperfect darkness, he traced these characters on the sheet of paper at the bedside. In the morning, he was surprised to see in his nocturnal sketch features, which he thought it impossible the fossil itself would reveal. He hastened to the Jardin des Plantes, and he took his drawing as a guide, succeeded in chiseling away the surface of the stone under which portions of the fish proved to be hidden. When wholly exposed, the fossil corresponded in his dream and his drawing, and he succeeded in classifying it with ease. That's crazy. Practice exercise number one. Get a new mental picture of yourself. By the way, before I continue on, what's crazy? Tesla, 1919 guy or whatever, the original Tesla, the Croatian dude that invented the alternating voltage, alternating current, and combustion engines. Hello, this guy, he invented these engines, these motors with visions and dreams in his mind. And he played them out with thought experiments. And then he went out and built them in real life and he never failed. Crazy. His experiments didn't fail and he had them in his mind first. And they came to him from what? The ether. Something. I don't know. Guys, listen. Bro, listen to this. Practice exercise number one. Get a new mental picture of yourself. The unhappy failure type personality cannot develop a new self image by pure willpower or be arbitrarily deciding to. There must be some ground, some justification, some reason for deciding that the old picture of self is an error and that a new picture is appropriate. You can't merely imagine a new self image unless you feel that it's based upon truth. Okay? You can't close your eyes and have thoughts become things unless you're actually having the thoughts become things. When you feel them as if they're already done. That same victory emotion that you felt when you won the spelling bee, when you're got complimented by something, you got a birthday present, you felt those emotions. You tie those same emotions, you copy and paste them over this imaginative future reality that's not yet present moment, and you feel the thing as if it's already done in the past. You'd be grateful for it. Being grateful is the ultimate form of receivership. You've already received something. When someone pays you a compliment, they give you something, they give you a gift. Hey, you look good today. Nice shoes. Thank you. Thank you. Being grateful means I've received that thing. I liked it. Thanks for the gift. Peace out. That's the only way this stuff works, guys. I'm telling you, bro. Experience has shown that when a person does change his self image, he's got the feeling that for one reason or another, he sees or realizes the truth about himself. The truth in this chapter, well, it can set you free of an old and inadequate self image if you read it often, think intently about the implications, and hammer home its truths to yourself. Science has now confirmed what philosophers, mystics, and other intuitive people have long declared, that every human being has been literally engineered for success by his creator. Every human being has an access to a power that's greater than himself. This means you, as Emerson has said, there are no great and no small. If you're engineered for success and happiness, then the old picture of yourself as unworthy of happiness or of a person who's meant to fail, that must be an error. Read this chapter, though, at least 3 times per week for the first 21 days. Well, there's our first homework. I have to reread this thing or watch my condensed version recording because this is a long one with me rambles. I'm going to go back and have to read this book, this chapter, at least 3 times per week for the first 21 days. So I've done it today as Monday. I got to come back Wednesday and come back Friday. And that's now 3 times this week. We'll do that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next 3 weeks. Memorize the following basic principles by which your success mechanism operates. You do not need to be an electronic engineer or a physicist or operate your own servo mechanism. And more than you need to be able to be an engineer, and any more than you have to be able to be an engineer in an automobile in order to drive one. See, we don't know how our car works, but it freaking works. So we don't need to know how AI works. It just freaking works. Just get in the car and drive. Or become an electrical engineer in order to turn on the light in your room. You do not need to be familiar with the following. However, because you have memorized them, they will throw new light on what is to follow. Number one, your built-in success mechanism must have a goal or target. This goal or target must be conceived as if it's already in existence now, either in actual or potential form. It operates by either steering you to a goal that's already in existence or by discovering something that's already in existence. Step 2. The automatic mechanism is teleological, that is, it operates or must be oriented to end result goals. Do not be discouraged because this means whereby may not be apparent. See, the cognitive dissonance I was talking about earlier? It's the function of the automatic mechanism to supply the means whereby when you supply the goal, think in terms of the end result, and the means whereby will often take care of themselves. When you imagine the thing that you want, and then you experience the thing as if it's already done, you collapse the things in between, which is the how I'm going to get there. When you try to get in between the thing of how I'm going to get there, it's like a battery circuit. You're going to extend and push those two positive and negative terminals further away from each other. But when you let them collapse and make a contact connection to the battery cell itself, you complete the circuit and the thing completes and you turn the lights on. And that's when your goals are accomplished. Get out of the way and let the coincidences of the universe and the nature take care of the how it's going to happen automatically. That's how it's written. Step 3. Do not be Number 3, do not be afraid of making mistakes or of temporary failures. All servo mechanisms achieve a goal of negative feedback or by going forward by making mistakes and immediately correcting course. Play, huddle, play. Step 4, skill learning of any kind is accomplished by trial and error, mentally correcting aim after an error until a successful motion. Ready, fire, aim. Not ready, aim, 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 fire. You'll never learn that way. After that, further learning and continued success is accomplished by forgetting the past errors and remembering the successful response so that it can be imitated. Focus on the flowers, not the weeds. Don't beat yourself up for mistakes of your past. Focus on your successes, and those will grow. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, and that thing will manifest and magnify the results that you want. Step 5, you must learn to trust your creative mechanism to do its work and not jam it by becoming too concerned or too anxious as to whether it will work or not, or by attempting to force it too much by conscious effort. You must let it work rather than make it work. Don't white knuckle approach this thing in life. Don't say, I've got to work. I've got to do these things. I've got to pray. I've got to, go to a job. I've got to give. I've got to sacrifice. I've got to give myself and sacrifice to someone else. Do you really think it's natural for our kids to go and serve us for the rest of our lives? No. What's natural is we want them to be contributing members of society and have a joyous, fun, fruitful, loving, happy life and move out of my freaking house. when they're capable of doing it and succeeding and living on their own. By the time they're 18 and they're fully matured in their body, not yet in their mind, but they're making their way and stumbling and correcting and falling and course correcting. And I'm their coach and they play huddle play and they get these feedback loops and mechanisms. By the time they're 25, most likely they've got this thing dialed in and set. And that's natural. So that's how this thing works. This is how it should work. If you're feeling like it's not working like that, then ask yourself a question. Is there another way? Is it possible? Is this the right path? Is this the way that I should? Is this the way it was designed for me to manifest? If someone who created me loves me this much, would it be this hard? Would it take this long? Would it never come? Would I never get these dreams of me fulfilled? Why? Why would I have these dreams? How dare you put these dreams and thoughts inside me if you weren't going to show me a way to make them come true? You ever have those thoughts? Those are external world inflicting on you thoughts. If you're out there serving or giving yourself or white knuckling it, there might be a different way. It might already be within you. It might be easy. See, the burden is light, the yoke is easy. This was written in the Bible because it's a description of the human condition of us. It's actually easy to manifest the life and dreams that you want if you just let go and trust in the process and collapse that circuit of thinking first. The thought is the birth, is the seed, and receiving second is the manifestation of that thing having been done already in the past, being grateful of that thing. Those two combined collapse time and space into the quantum infinite realm of what I was talking about earlier with the infinity electron that's got this infinite wave of possibility that the observer effect is when we go look for it and measure it, then it shows up and then it disappears again. All that's describing is that any possibility is possible and it can manifest instantly in a place where there is no time and space. So when you get out of the way, all of a sudden, holy crap, look at those coincidences, those synchronicities. Look at this way of the world that like things started working my way and I start getting this reticular activating system working in my favor and I'm seeing the good things, the benefits in life that I want and not the things I don't want anymore because I got out of the way. I trusted the process. When I stopped doing Amway of 5 years, I didn't lose my dream. My dream amplified and magnified because I let go of the result. And I was like, you know what? I've always known there's an infinite number of ways to make money. There's got to be something out there that'll come my way rather than the garbage I was told that this is God's business for the last 5 years and the only way to make money. Well, I've seen in the last few years with the advent of technology giving us the ability to converse with each other through video media much faster and much more broader than we've ever before. It's not the advent of the internet or social media per se, but it's that the advancement of our technology is every person in their handheld device now has an amazing cell phone that which they can record and create a podcast and expose the lies and secrets of certain industries and models that they've seen. And they're like, wow, look at this behind the scenes. These people have actually been lying out of the side of their mouth the whole time. This really was a thing that was like a pyramid scheme that only the people at the top are getting a cut of the training and education that was supposed to be free, but each one of us paying $150 a month for this free mentorship thing was really, I got what I paid for, which is garbage. You only get what you pay for. So if I'm going to go find good advice, I knew it had to be there. And then all of a sudden I got good advice that I had to pay. Holy crap. The first thing was like me on a call, like a pressured sales call in such a way, but it's like, yeah, it's 3,000 bucks. Pull out your credit card, Visa or MasterCard. Holy crap. I've never even seen like, no, or met you before. I clicked on an ad and here I am investing in my first bait of opportunity and knowledge. That was the cheapest one that I've ever spent, by the way. The first one was my cheapest. And I was like, holy crap. Uh, well, here we go. Giddy up. And I got what I paid for. I got more than $3,000. I got about $30,000 worth of value out of that first initial bait of information. But I got out of the way, let go of the results, trusted in the process, closed my eyes, and felt as if it already happened. And then this crazy thing happened. I was in Vegas with my parents, my wife's parents, celebrating their business. Napa Auto Parts hooked them up, gave them a whole weekend to play and fun, and they won $5,000. They were picked amongst all these business owners, got in the top three, and the crowd picked them. My daughter was like, I know you're going to come home with that check. Like, you're in the top three, you're going to go. Like, my daughter was speaking to my in-laws, her grandparents, this manifestation technique and like, trust me and believe me in the process, you're going to win. And guess what? They freaking won. They won a $5,000 grand prize, this check, cash money revealed. Like, the crowd picks you out of the three people, reveal your prize of 5,000 bucks. pretty sweet. I was hit with an ad while I was taking a shower, a YouTube ad talking about digital real estate. What the heck is digital real estate? And also, it exposed me on how to make money with apartment units. It was, being more of the the deal finder and a GC partner rather than a GP partner rather than LP. But that's neither here nor there. I got out of the way, trusted the process. And this step 5, I got to read it over again from top to the bottom because it's the last one and then we're done. You must learn to trust your creative mechanism to do its work and not just jam it by becoming too concerned or too anxious as to whether it'll work or not, or by attempting to force it too much by conscious effort alone. You must let it work rather than make it work. This trust is necessary because your creative mechanism operates below the level of consciousness and you cannot know what is going on beneath the surface. Moreover, its nature is to operate spontaneously according to present need. Therefore, you need to have no guarantees in place to advance. It comes into operation as you act and as you place a demand upon it by your actions. You must not wait to act until you have proof. You must act as if it is there and it will come through, do the thing, and you will have the power, said Emerson. Boom. Guy, I'll tell you what, I like to jump rope and I use cross ropes, but the jump rope dudes, look them up on YouTube channel. Do the thing. That's all I got to say. Get to work and let's kill it.